Honestly, sometimes I think I was better off in jail. I had food and shelter. It's too hard now. I lost my family because I couldn't provide for them. I have to wonder how I'm going to eat or how I'm going to pay my bills. And no one will give me a chance to work, said Andrew recently. Now imagine with me, if you will, the dumbest thing you've ever done. Now imagine if you were defined by that moment for the rest of your life. This thought is not only terrifying, but is a real reality for 650,000 criminals who are released from prison every year. These are ex-offenders who carry the label felon for the rest of their lives. And if their predetermined identity isn't enough, criminals are stripped from their ability to potential employment. Is this fair? Let's see. According to Congressman Charles B. Rangel, ex-offenders have no ability to be productive members of society because their criminal records prevent employers from considering them for jobs. My goal today is to persuade you of how we should give employment hope to the ex-offenders. In order to do this, we'll go through 3 different points. First, we'll discuss the status quo and what does it mean to be a felon. Secondly, I'll bring this tragedy to life through the use of illustrations and examples. And lastly, we'll go over the answers. What are the next steps? And hopefully, in the end, we can tackle this injustice together. So first off, let's clarify a few things. After these 650,000 criminals are released from prison, they are not free. They receive a dangerous record warning the public of their past history as an arrested felon. In fact, with our current criminal justice system, the former teenage shoplifter is experiencing similar post-crime repercussions as a suspected murderer. These consequences include the inability to vote, the disability to receive visa or professional license, and the disability to bear arms, just to name a few. But quite possibly, the worst consequence is that it's perfectly legal to discriminate against an ex-offender in a hiring decision. Cindy Crane, Executive Director of the Tarrant County Homeless Coalition, conducted a survey in 2011 stating that more than 76% of the 410 people surveyed said the main reason they were unemployed was because of their criminal record. But why should this matter to us? Their consequences are severe, as they should be. They're meant to be a safeguard. In the case of employment, they're meant to protect the employer from risk. But the lack of opportunity for the ex-offenders is leading many individuals to return to lives of crime. Unfortunately, according to Bureau of Justice Statistics, 30% of adult offenders are returning to prison after the first 6 months of their release. Even worse, after 3 years, 67% or 2 out of 3 ex-offenders are returning to prison. It's as Ariel Covito asked us, aren't you almost forcing us to say the same by taking away job prospects and opportunities? Ironically, we are creating the very thing we are trying to protect ourselves from, repeat offenders. Now for my second point, we'll go over what statistics cannot. Statistics cannot show us how many dreams we have stunted or how many lives we've unnecessarily sold short. A survey will not tell us how many people who can relate to Andrew, seeing jail and imprisonment as the only option left. Ariel Covito goes on to tell us more about her hardships of being an ex-offender by stating, imagine someone telling you, you can't be what you want to be in life because you made a dumb decision as a kid. Ex-offenders are extremely stigmatized and aren't allowed to go for their goals and dreams. Many of us have overcome many hard obstacles and are looking for opportunities to better our families and support ourselves. For example, Jeff Norton filled out about 200 job applications after he was laid off from Walmart over a year ago. He's not having any luck. This quote goes on to tell us that he was charged with second-degree burglary in 1989, almost a quarter of a century ago, and hasn't committed another crime since. He tells us that as soon as employers learn about his past, they move on to the next candidate. Tim Baker expresses his adversities by stating, I get the feeling that most people don't care. We're put in this mold as, once a convict, always a convict. And to further push this point, I'll now give you Andrew's background story. Andrew was an all-American boy growing up in Jackson, Mississippi. Like other boys his age, he had dreams of being a doctor. He fell in love with his high school sweetheart, married young, and before he knew it, he was 19 years old with 2 mouths to feed in addition to his own, and very low income. On his way home from filling out yet another job application, he sees a woman put her purse down to attend to her child. He thinks to himself, if I take this purse, I might have enough money to feed my family today. Before he knew it, he was running around the building, purse in hand. The woman screamed. He quickly aborted his foolish plan and threw the purse in the alley. Shortly after, he was arrested. Though there's not much money in the purse itself was valued at $500, making his fool's decision a felony, and therefore a life-altering decision. Since then, he has given his life to God. He's an upstanding citizen with a heart of gold, but despite all of his rehabilitation, he still does not qualify for student aid, and he is turned down by employers time and time again. Andrew represents the 33% of nonviolent one-time offenders who are carrying the label of felon for the rest of their lives. Now that we've discussed how increasingly popular this problem has become, and I've showed you the emotions that ex-offenders are dealing with, it's time to discuss the answers. What are the next steps? Well, I'm happy to share with you that all hope is not lost. There is an act called the Second Chance Act of 2007, which was signed into law April 9, 2008. This law provides funding for housing, substance abuse treatment, family programming, victim support, and many other related services. But the one aspect that it does not cover, however, is the criminal record and the lack of employment. As wonderful as the Second Chance Act of 2007 is, employment is a vital component of life in which we all depend on. That is why Congressman Charles B. Rangel introduced the Second Chance Act of 2011. This act, according to Congressman Rangel, would provide expungement of a record of a nonviolent criminal offense if the person has 1. Never been convicted of an offense other than which expungement is sought, 2. Fulfilled all requirements of the sentence of the court in which the criminal offense was obtained, 3. Remained free of abuse of drugs or alcohol for 1 year, 4. Obtained a high school diploma or equivalent, and 5. Fulfilled at least 1 year of community service. These 5 requirements weed out the true criminals and repeat offenders and leave us with the individuals who have slipped up and paid for their mistakes a second chance, redemption. And if that isn't enough, if the criminal who received expungement commits yet another crime,